Hi, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of The Property Show. The property market is moving up a gear, driven by the changing demands of the young, modern families seeking homes in gated and vibrant communities. Today, we shine a light on one of the top most sought-after developments in the fastest-growing suburbs along Roiro Kiambu Road, Lifestyle Heights.
The dance talk is your name. Do you have a track record? Are you able to start a project and finish?
On the expert segment, we get insights on embracing the new normal and how the real estate sector is unfolding this season.
We see international interest, particularly in the office market, as we move into the first quarter of 2021.
The accessory spot, we get tips on how to mount the bathroom setup with the best and most convenient storage options with smart finishes for everyday use. On our home ownership segment, we highlight interesting experiences of living in Lifestyle Heights community.
There is always something for you regardless of your income. Test the waters, go to the banks, let them advise you, go to the sales consultants, let them advise you.
Let's get the show on the road. We love hearing from you. Let's connect on our social media handles. This is The Property Show. As always, there is something for everyone. It's a fact. Nairobi is a growing city and it's expanding rapidly. This week, on our Property Pick of the Week, we explore Kiambu County, which is among the top most desired and fastest growing suburbs in the outskirts of Nairobi County.
We at Lifestyle Heights, we realize security is very paramount when it comes to real estate development. And for that particular reason, we have been able to put rightful measures that will actually allow a resident at this particular development to feel relatively comfortable. Some of these facilities that we are having include the electric fencing that is all round the perimeter wall. We also have a CCTV camera system that covers virtually every other point in the development. We also have lighting systems that will take care of the residents late in the evening or basically at night. And these particular lights are also powered, or they are being backed up by standby generator that has an automatic changeover system. We have actually spaced out our apartment in a better way. And right in between, we have increased green areas. As you can see, there is a good coverage of green areas. Also complemented by our pergolas. You can see we have like 3 pergolas coming up. On those 3 pergolas, they will be hosting 8 guys at a go. And this is beneficial to the residents because most of the time, if you feel you are cooked in the house, you can actually be able just to come out and feel the air. We also have the commercial block. The commercial block is very sensitive to Lifestyle Heights. For this particular kind of reason, we only allow homeowners to actually rent out space in that commercial block. It will be easy for any particular resident to actually buy anything, maybe late in the evening if he has actually maybe forgot about it during the day. The growth of a child is very essential to Lifestyle Heights. And for that particular reason, we have actually developed a well-sized kids playing area. And this playing area has a playing station, it has swings, it also has a merry-go-round. Parking is an issue in the 21st century. So if we don't provide enough assurance to our customers that at the end of the day, if they have maybe a car or two, they will not only be able to have good spaces for parking, but a parking that is secure. And that is what we at Lifestyle Heights, we are endeavoring to provide. Another thing that we didn't chance on is actually provision of water. We have an underground water tank that holds 800 cubic. Then that particular kind of water also is being supported by a water tower that holds 196 cubic. That is a whole lot of water that can actually sustain our residents or members of Lifestyle Heights. Apart from that, each and every housing unit has 1,000 liters of water tank that automatically refills itself once you use that particular kind of water. Such assurances makes Lifestyle Heights a special place to live. In all our entrances, we have the biometric access control that is very essential in terms of controlling people moving in and out of an apartment block. On every entrance, you can actually be able to testify the spaces that are around on our development. And with such spaces, people can actually be able to move in and out swiftly. We have a CCTV camera and we have motion censored lighting that will actually be able to be on once there is movement or there is access at an apartment. All our floors have 4 units which are well spaced out. These particular units are arranged in such a manner. 2 units are right at the extreme of the lift and 2 other units are right at the extreme of our staircases. Another unique thing about us is the hose reels and fire extinguishers that are actually staged at every particular floor. At our entrances, we have the cloakroom for the guest. I like this place, and the reason as to why I like this particular kind of place, because as much as you have the shoe rack, this other area makes your room brighter. It makes the living room have some sense of a good feeling. There is an area that has a designate for your dining. We have a 4-seater dining, but I think you can be able to extend it to up to 6-seater. And also it leaves enough space for your lounge. We have our kitchen that comes fitted, and apart from all these that you can actually be able to enjoy, the oven, the hob and the hood, we have provided an under-sink heater that will actually be able to facilitate your heating for your water as you are washing your utensils. Our kitchen opens out to our well-sized laundry area, I can actually be able to say, because it has a provision for a washing machine. This can be used as your dirty kitchen. If you have slaughtered anything, maybe chicken, you are peeling bananas, you are doing potatoes and all that, and you wouldn't want to mess your kitchen, you'll actually use this space. There is a provision for gas. You can have your cylinder under your sink and still have some more extra space. under it, so that at the end of the day, you are safe. Now we have our bedroom 1. You can see the size of our bedrooms. It can actually be able to fit 2 beds, where you can have your kids occupying this particular kind of space. And right in the middle, there is still extra spaces. For those who are spiritual enough, maybe you could be kneeling with your kids late at night and have a prayer as you put them to bed. And also, your kids will still be enjoying wardrobes. Then we have bedroom 2. We have a very unique master bedroom where the wardrobes are inbuilt and they are large enough. We have 2 sets of wardrobes. Maybe these can be on one side, you can allow it maybe to be for the gents and the other side for the ladies. And definitely you must appreciate the size of the master bedroom. This is a 6x5 bed, but you can actually be able to see the pockets of spaces around this particular kind of bed. So you can easily fit in a 6x6 bed and still have other spaces around you.
What is the most important factor to consider when buying a dream home off-plan? Is it the location, price tag, amenities, developer's reputation, or a combination of all? Today, we explore a project that is known for delivering the promise of off-plan projects. This development is located in the fast-growing suburbs of Kiambu, bordering Nairobi County, Lifestyle Heights. Let's hear from the developer. Karibu sana on the show, and thank you for having us in this beautiful development.
Thank you, Nancy. Long time.
I know.
It's a long time since I knew you, and we've been working together.
We've come a long way.
We've come a long, long way.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. You've said it. What is the most important for a person when you want to buy a property, when you want to buy a house? It's the combination of all of them. The price, the developer's reputation, the location, all of them, what the value you're getting. And I think when you combine all those, you get value.
I want to talk about your journey as a developer. We've come a long way.
2012 now is exactly 8 years.
That journey, how has it been? The first project we did together was on Mombasa Road, all the way to here. Let's talk about that journey.
Well, the journey has not been so smooth. Basically because I'm operating in a third world country. The expectations were not all met, but I've learned a lot. And I'll tell you, I've got more experience now in this market, in the housing sector, in this country, and I can be able to deliver any project. The first project I did, and I'll tell you, I started in real estate just by default. I hadn't planned to do it. I'm a businessman for a very long time. I started business when I was quite young, 31 years old. I did my first housing units in Nunda, like any other Kenyan. I wanted something to get some rental income from, and I bought the land when it was quite cheap. I did 3 units in Nunda. But when I finished, I did the houses like I want to live in all of them. Finished very well. I went to China, brought in very good tiles, very good, finishing stuff. When I finished, I got a good offer.
To sell?
I will tell you how much.
To sell or to rent?
To sell. And it was so good. I sold the first unit and waited a bit for a year. I sold the second unit. And for the first time, as the Kenyans say, nikaona pesa. So I decided I'm going to now go into housing and be able to do housing for the upcoming families. Not this totally high-end that what I've done in Lunda, but something a normal Kenyan can stay in. I could stay in myself. I went to Mombasa Road, bought a 5-acre piece of land, and did 70 units, 4-bedroom townhouses with all the amenities. And this is normally our first starting point. And we're very proud of it. We call it Lifestyle Gardens. The units were sold in record 2 years. You know, after we sold that, we went to the same area, Mombasa Road, Syokimau. We bought another 5 acres, but this time we did what the market was asking for. People were looking for modern apartments, and this is normally the young professionals, people who are upward moving. So they want a unit where they can be able to settle, where they can be able to stay, a place that has security, a place that has, you know, they live as a community, a place that has water more nearer the road. In fact, it's about 800 meters from Mombasa Road. The second project sold so very fast. Before we had the first show house, in less than 3 months after we started construction, we were halfway done.
Is it the price or the location?
As I told you, it was all of them.
Let's talk about this beautiful project.
This beautiful place, it's nice. I'm very proud of it. We've done the first phase of this project, 196 units.
And
as you can see,
full,
people are already in. We've got a few units remaining. It's not a worry, they're going to move very fast. And we've already decided to start our second phase 2.5 months ago, and our show house is almost ready. We are almost 50% done in selling. The economy is not doing so well. Why are we able to sell housing at this time? We've got a track record. I've told you, this is our third big project. We deliver on quality. You've gone inside the houses. Everyone who comes here says, this is not in Kenya. Really, people don't do this. As the old Swahili saying says, Mugema akisifiwa tebo uritia maji. Ours, we continue to improve. And our customers will tell you that. And I think you'll be able to talk to a number of our customers here.
And who are your buyers here?
The buyers mostly are the young generation, people in the ages of 25 to 40, mostly. We still have a bit of older people who mostly buy for investments. In this place, as you've seen, we've got a children play area. We've got a shopping center that is already done. Yes. You can see the greenery here. Yes. This is a place for people to bring up children. This is a place for people to live. This is a place for people to work, to have entertainment and recreation.
What are the dynamics that made you decide that this is the place I will put up my big projects?
In a very few years, this will be the most sought after area in Nairobi. We're in Tatu City. Tatu is a planned city. It has roads. And you've seen what normally happens in this country when people start developing. Next door, you've got a slum. Next door, you've got a 20-story building. If you know Westlands, this is a Westland, but more planned, better planned. What I saw in this place, and is coming to reality, we've got Kijani Ridge next to us here. They're very nice houses. Very soon, the price in this area of houses, of land, will be out of reach for so many people. So anybody who wants to come and buy a unit now, this is the time.
One of the things I find with all your projects is that immediately you put them into the market, they sell. What makes your projects unique?
I'm a businessman and I've been in business for quite some time. I'll tell you, if you want to succeed in any business, respect your customer. Don't take your customer for granted. Every unit I make, and I insist from all my people, from the consultants, from the contractor, that the house you're building, can your family stay in that house?
So you build for yourself.
If it does not meet those standards, then I'm not going to do it. Because I'm building for people. I would want where I can live. Myself, I don't live here, but I can come and live here and retire here. Is a place for the family, is a place for the community. Again, if you want to live what we used to have a long time, those of us who brought up a country, if you want a place where you want to live as a community, this is the place. It has security, water, is very clean.
Amenities, swimming pool.
All the amenities. Got
children's
swimming
play
pool,
area.
Children's play area.
Gardens.
Walking areas. You know, you don't have to worry at all.
We know so many developers like yourself who
Yeah.
come in, give me a beautiful story. We start the journey. Along the way, they park and we don't see them anymore. I'd like to just understand what makes developers fold so fast and what makes other developers like yourself stand tall.
Development and real estate is a business like any other business. You get me?
Yes.
It's a business like any other business. But there's a perception in this country that there is a lot of money in real estate. There is money in every business if you do it right. And that's what we do. We do it right. Like any other business, when you start a business, you know you've got to have stock. You cannot open a shop there and you want people to supply you and then you sell. You got to have stock. And what is our stock in real estate? It's land. Next stock in real estate is experience. The third stock is your name. Do you have a track record? Are you able to start a project and finish? 4, do you have a financier who is ready to finance you because you deliver? Number 5, consultants. You have to work with professionals. You have to work with a professional architect. You have to work with professional engineers. You've got to work with a professional contractor. And all the others who come with that, electrical, service engineer, and all of them, including interior designers. When you work with that group who trusts you, who knows that the project will not stop halfway.
Because you've locked the finances.
Because you won't get the finance. Because the customers won't pay you. Because those who booked the units won't pay you. I'll tell you about the customers. Apart from very few customers, most customers will come and just book a unit with a minimum amount of money. And then they'll wash you.
They wait and see.
They'll wait and see. What are you doing? They'll visit the project each and every other weekend. If there's no progress, they stop paying. A few gullible Kenyans will give a lot of money, and then you don't finish the project, and you see them on the press. But I'll tell you about something else about housing also, and why we are able to construct. Some people will come and say, I think this is expensive, but we are getting from so and so, from this and this, a cheaper unit. There is a minimum cost of construction. I normally put it at give or take 40,000 Kenya shillings per square meter.
That is a ready apartment.
That's a ready apartment.
So does that include consultants? Does that include other variables?
No, it doesn't. That's the cost of construction only. 40,000, give or take. If it's not finished so high-end, probably it will be something less. If it's high-end finished, because it's of the tiles, because of the ceramics, because of, whatever else, the lighting and all that, what you put, it will be more than that. If somebody promises you a unit, and you do your math, and the price is less than 40,000 per square meter, depending on how many square meters the house is supposed to be. You remember the old saying we were taught in standard 2 or year 2? When the deal is too good, think twice. But most Kenyans don't do that. Remember that does not include the cost of consultancy, does not include the cost of land, does not include the cost of approvals, government approvals, and we pay quite some money for government approvals, does not include the cost of credit from the bank, and of course your profit. So if the cost is less than that, soon or later,
the developer has to fold.
The developer will go. And then what will you have?
We all look for an opportunity to slice a piece of the real estate pie. Granted, it's never a walk in the park. But the first step in the right direction is finding a trusted developer whose track record is delivering the promise of that dream home and investment you can trust. Coming up, a conversation with an expert on embracing the new normal and how the future of the real estate sector is expected to unfold this season. The real estate market has been disrupted like any other sector during this season. Today, we are joined by the Managing Director of Knight Frank, who is going to give us a perspective on the impact of the real estate market. Karibu sana on the show. One of the questions we get asked all the time, how was the market pre-COVID and where are we today? And how do you see this market unfolding going forward?
If we look back at 2019 and the first quarter of 2020, we were seeing signs of recovery. So we had gone beyond the point at which we're still suffering from the interest rate cap. We're starting to see the oversupply diminish. We're starting to see rents begin to climb again. As I say, the early signs of recovery. So all of that was going on up until the middle of March. And that's when, of course, it all changed.
Then we get into COVID.
Yes.
How has that market been and where are we today?
It's been very tough for everybody. As you say, of course, the property sector as well. I think that the hardest hit has been the hospitality sector. So that is to say the tourism industry, the hotel industry.
Service apartments.
Of course, all of those things are very, very short-term lets and hotel nights and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, that's going to be the slowest to recover as well. And the reason people are not coming to Kenya is not because they're afraid of catching the virus in Kenya, quite the opposite, in fact. There are three reasons why people are not coming to Kenya. The first is that they simply have less money in their home markets as tourists. A lot of people have taken salary cuts or they've lost their jobs. The second reason is for insurance purposes, that they're not allowed to travel to certain countries. And the third reason is that they have to quarantine when they get back home again.
Yes.
So who's going to go on a 2-week holiday when you have to spend another 2 weeks sitting at home? So of course, that until those policies change in those countries out there, we're not going to see the large numbers of tourism back in Kenya. And so, that sector is still going to carry on suffering. And of course, it goes the same for all the conferences,
yes.
All the NGOs and so on and so forth. So I think, although that's a sector that we're not at Knight Frank particularly deeply involved with, it is obviously, I think, the hardest hit sector. After that, I would say the retail sector has been very hard hit as well. So from the 15th of March, we started to see the country locked down. Shopping centres suffered very, very badly. People were simply not going there at all. Or if they were running into the supermarket, buying their essentials and running out again. No impulse purchasing going on whatsoever. So all the line shops who rely on those thousands of people who walk past their shop front every day were seeing no business at all. And so immediately those tenants were crying out to us, look, I can't even afford to pay my staff. How can I pay my rent? And immediately tenants and landlords started talking to each other. Obviously, we're involved in a lot of those negotiations. And it was about landlords helping tenants to stay alive. I mean, if a landlord wanted to say, no, you have to pay this, this, and this, they would have no tenants. And of course, every landlord could see that straight away. And so almost immediately, we were seeing those conversations starting. We were seeing rent concessions coming in, some of them quite major, particularly for those tenants who were effectively closed by government, such as casinos, cinemas, gyms, those that weren't even allowed to try and trade. And then, of course, you had those that were suffering greatly because of the reduced footfall. And then there were others, a few, who were actually trading okay, like the anchor tenants themselves and some of the service industries, so your mobile phone operators, that kind of thing. They were also doing okay. So as shopping centre managers, we were trying to classify the tenants, what category do you fit into, how much help do you need? But of course, meanwhile, at the same time, the landlords were having a similar conversation with their financiers. Yes, the banks, the investors and so on, the shareholders. And so, of course, tenants were saying, well, I don't want to pay rent. And the landlords were saying, well, I don't want to pay service charge because I'm not operating. Well, the landlord says, well, if you don't pay service charge, who does? How do I repay my loans? Exactly. Do we just close the shopping centre forever?
Who runs for the electricity, the basics?
Of course, yeah.
What about the residential market?
The residential market has been an interesting one. Obviously, people need somewhere to live, and we did have some cases within our portfolio where tenants were saying, I've lost my job, I can't afford to pay, please help me. But these were much, much smaller in number than the appeals that we were getting from the retail sector. But what we did see in our residential portfolio, at the top end, a lot of it is expatriate based. We saw a lot of expatriates leave. Some of them were repatriated to their countries. Others whose tenancies came to an end were not renewed. So the natural churn that we normally see around the June, July, August period, we saw the people go, but we didn't see the new people come. So the vacancy rates have definitely gone up in our portfolio. And I think, again, it's the same reasons for the tourists, but slightly different. I think when the schools reopen here, then I think we'll start to see a lot more of those expatriates come back. So when they can get their kids into school here, otherwise they'll stay in their home countries, they'll have them educated in their home countries and wait until the schools reopen. That's, of course, one of the factors that's preventing them coming here.
That is the very high-end residential market. What about the mid sector? Because a lot of people have downgraded. They've gone to other areas that are slightly cheaper. What's your take on that?
That is true. Some people have also left Nairobi altogether. We've seen a lot of people move to the coast, move up country. Some of those people have been looking at buying pied-à-terres, so in other words a second home where they can go and escape the craziness of Nairobi, particularly when it was being locked down. But yes, other people have downgraded, certainly. There has been activity in the market for sure, definitely we've seen that.
And what about the future of warehousing in the industrial park? Where is that being placed today?
Well, I would say industrial and warehousing is probably the least affected. In some parts of the world, obviously, we've seen that sector grow phenomenally, where we've seen a shift from store buying to online purchasing. In Kenya, we don't really have the infrastructure for that to really take off yet. So, for instance, in the UK and the US, you've got the likes of Amazon and so on and so forth who've grown fantastically during this period because everybody's relying on online deliveries. Here we don't, as I say, have the infrastructure for those online deliveries, but it is coming. But notwithstanding that, those sectors definitely have been affected the least.
One of the other area that everybody is talking about is the office space.
Yes.
A lot of people are now working from home, so people tend to think that we'll have a lot of empty spaces because of people not working from the office, and this will be the new norm. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that was happening already even before COVID-19. We were starting to see businesses rationalize their office space, certainly, and look at different ways of occupying space, to not just to cut their overheads, to increase efficiency, but also to help with the work-life balance for their staff. So a lot more people were working from home anyway. Ironically, they were sharing desks, which is a bit more difficult right now, but in the long term, I think that will happen. So some of the doomsday prophecies about the office market disappearing and everybody working from home, I don't buy that at all. I think, corporations need office space. They will always need office space. Yes, they may need less, but there are others coming into the sector as well. Particularly in Nairobi, which is a regional hub, we're always going to have that drive of an influx of international corporations who are looking for a regional headquarters. So I don't see the office market being filled with vacancies. I think, yes, this adjustment will happen, but also one of the other things we've learned about people doing a lot of work from home, yes, you can be more efficient, yes, you don't waste so much time in traffic, but there are also things you miss, the face-to-face meetings and so on and so forth. Now, they're not back yet, but they will be. And we're starting to see that happen now. So we have inquiries on office space. We are doing leasing now. We are starting to see that sector pick up again. So I don't think it's doom and gloom for the office sector at all.
And what about the affordable housing space? We've always spoken about this space. How do you see it unfold, and how do you see it being more effective in today's market?
I think it's becoming more important than ever, and we are getting contacted more and more by organisations who want to work with government, and I think, as I've said before, that's the key, working with government in the affordable housing sector. As I've said before, it's not profitable for organisations to build affordable housing, so they need help from government, whether it's in the form of tax incentives or land partnerships, joint ventures with government and so on and so forth. But yes, I do believe that hasn't gone away at all. It's more important than ever, and we will see that sector recover quite quickly.
Going forward, which are the key drivers you see that are going to make a significant change in the sector?
In the affordable housing sector, well, I mean, it's the demand is there. I mean, you know, there are still far too many people paying rent and not getting on the property ladder. That demand isn't going anywhere, particularly in Nairobi, which is still growing just from natural population growth, but also migration from the rural areas to the urban areas. So that's the demand, and you know, government's made a promise, and you know, they are fully committed to delivering on that promise. So I think we will see that happen.
And we can see it unfolding as we go along.
Yes, exactly.
For anybody watching you today, Ben, they'll be saying, where do I start from? What would you advise them?
I think there are a lot of barriers to entry into the property market, of course, not least because the cost of entering the market is so high, actually having the capital to put down. But I think the best advice I can give is to do one's best to get that and to start small. I mean, you start small and then you grow. So the very basic, you know, you might say, okay, I'm going to buy a plot of land and I'm going to build a living room and a bedroom so that I can occupy that. And then the money that I save that I'm not paying in rent, I can then add to that, and so on and so forth. If you go in too high and you overstretch yourself, then it becomes very difficult to make loan repayments. But in the affordable housing sector, of course, one of the government policies is to make loans very, very cheap, and that's been the biggest barrier to entry to date. So as part of the affordable housing package, as it were, for developers, you know, their ability to build is being helped by government incentives in terms of tax breaks, in terms of cheaper land, and so on and so forth. And their ability to sell is being helped by government getting the loan repayments down. I mean, if you say to somebody, okay, you can carry on renting, or you can pay 3 or 4 times as much and service a mortgage, well, of course, they're going to carry on renting. Exactly. They have no choice. Exactly. But if you can bring that mortgage repayment down, both by lowering the interest payment, but also extending the time over which it can be repaid, then if you get those two closer together, then it becomes a much easier choice for somebody to make. Do I carry on paying my rent, or do I now choose a mortgage option where I'm actually starting to own this property myself? Not only am I paying off, but also I'm benefiting from its increase in value as well. So if I buy something for 3 million shillings, maybe I can sell it for 4 or 5 million shillings a few years down the line. I buy a 2-bedroom place and I'm just married. Now I have my second child, I'm ready for my 3-bedroom place, and I can trade and I can start moving up that ladder. And it's just getting on that first step of the ladder that's so important.
Let's talk about the government policy, and is it favorable to us?
I think what happened in the middle of March is we were in crisis mode, and the Kenyan government was looking around the rest of the world to see what other countries were doing. And, you know, at the time, I was looking very closely at what all the African governments were doing. And other than South Africa, I think the Kenyan government was one of the fastest to react, coming out with both monetary and fiscal policy to help people survive and to weather the storm that was coming. You know, you had, of course, a reduction in corporation tax. You had the PAYE reduced, so people weren't paying so much. They weren't having as much of their salary taken away. And, of course, you know, the VAT reduction to 14%. And because that happened quite quickly, it gave people the confidence that the government was behind them and listening to their concerns. And I think that made a huge difference. If you were to compare Kenya to the first world countries, obviously the budgets are different. Kenyan government didn't have the cash reserves to come up with a furlough scheme. Furloughing where, you know, if I employ 100 people, I could send 20 or 30 of them home, and the government would pay their salaries up to 80% of what they were paid before. That's what was happening in many parts of the world. Of course, Kenya couldn't afford to do that, and so a lot of people were sent home with very little money, and of course that became very painful. Lockdowns in African countries were extremely painful, particularly for the informal, the Juakali sector, where you know, people would start to go hungry very quickly if they're not able to do their day-to-day trading. But I think, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, and you know, none of us are experts, none of us can see into the future. I think the Kenyan government was doing and is doing a fantastic job in managing the crisis, actually, and we're seeing it starting to unlock piece by piece, and you know, that's having a very real positive impact on the real estate sector, as I'm sure it is with other sectors across the economy as well.
As we finish today, and thank you so much for your time,
Okay.
how do you see 2021 unfolding?
Well, as I've said before, I think we're particularly blessed in Nairobi to be the centre of the region. We are a regional hub, and therefore we see international interest, particularly in the office market, but that has a knock-on effect on all other sectors as well. And so I see that demand recovering already to a limited extent, but I see that growing again as we move into the first quarter of 2021. We are already seeing some transactions happening now. People are thinking ahead, preparing themselves for recovery. And so as long as everything goes to plan, we don't have a second wave here, then I think that 2021 will be a good year for us. I think it'll start slow for sure. We're coming off a low base. A lot of organizations have cut their overheads dramatically, and on the basis of those reduced overheads, if we start to see an increase in turnover, then we'll start to recover.
Asante sana for your time, and thank you so much for your generosity with your insights.
Not at all. Thank you very much.
Here on the Property Show this season, we shall continue sharing insights on how the real estate market is unfolding in real time. Time for a quick commercial break. Still ahead, the accessory spot. Real-life experiences of being part of the lifestyle estate community on the home ownership segment.
We needed a secure location for our children and a place where they could also play and interact with other children.
When I moved here, I got there's so many kids around, and also it's just like one compound.
Stay put, we'll be right back after the break. This is the Property Show. Welcome back. On the second part of this show, we highlight the accessory spots, the home ownership segment with real-life experiences. Design is a balance between beauty and function. Today, we get tips on how to mount the bathroom setup with the best and most convenient storage spaces with smart finishes for everyday use.
Storage options and smart finishes means that even the smallest of bathrooms can be stylish as well as practical. Here is how. Be clever with glass. A walk-in shower with frameless panels looks barely there, working wonders in the bathroom. You may also consider adding white marble for the wall tiles, giving the small space a dash of glamour. Use clever paint effects to create an illusion of height. Paint halfway up a wall to create an illusion of height. By lowering the eye with a darker paint shade, you create a distance from the upper portion of the wall. This clever yet simple paint trick is a great way to make a small space appear larger than it really is. Mount your taps to the wall. Wall-mounted mixer taps work well in compact bathroom designs, as the pipework can be hidden without the need for a basin pedestal. You can use that freed up space to house shelving or a laundry basket. Think like an expert. Architecturally or visually, it is best to keep a small bathroom feeling open by not crowding too many things in it. Edit your amenities often, hang your towels on bars or hooks, keep patterns to a minimum, and generally make it simple. The room will feel bigger if you use a pedestal sink rather than a bulky vanity, a clear glass door rather than shower curtains, and reflective surfaces such as glossy ceramic tiles in a large scale. Furnish to scale. Large items of furniture can dwarf a small room, so always buy pieces that suit the scale of your space. In a small bathroom, stick to the basics of a vanity unit and storage rack that you can either hang on the wall or rest on the edge of a bath. But that doesn't mean that you can't pack on the personality. Paint a vanity unit in your favorite color and opt for patterned tiles on the floor.
Here on the accessory sports segment, we have solutions for every space in a home. If you need to add a personal touch in your home, our interior design partners can make it happen. Just give us a call and let's start talking. Next, our home ownership segment with interesting experiences from those already living within the Lifestyle Heights community. Let's hear more.
I'm a mother of two. I'm a nutritionist by profession. Practiced for quite some while. As the kids are growing, you realize that you need a space where they can call home, because moving from one place to another does not really work for them very well. So we felt that we need, yes, a place we call home. And again, as you look at the rates in rent in most places, it's equal to paying a mortgage. So we felt, why don't we just take a mortgage and it becomes a step towards our home ownership instead of paying rent each and every day. So that was one of the reasons. Secondly, we needed a secure location for our children and a place where they could also play and interact with other children, because they need it also for their growth. We were looking for a place where there are schools nearby, a place where we can be able to access our work locations without a lot of hassle. We were looking for availability of water, because we know that's a big issue in the city. So we were looking for it not only at the short term, but we were looking at it also in the longer term. So those were some of the minimum basic requirements that we were looking for when we were looking for a home. I had heard about Tattoo City, but I had not really understood the concept. But I saw a billboard at Pangani one morning when I was driving to work, and it increased my curiosity. And in the process of looking for a home, I decided to come and check it out. And once I came in, I first started as a tenant, because I really wanted to test the waters and see really, because I've seen many properties where you move into a house and 2-3 months down the line, everything starts falling apart and you have to redo everything. So I felt that I need to start as a tenant, so that's how I started. And I felt I'm home because everything works as it's advertised, and they have not done a shoddy job, if I can say. Everything is intact now, almost 1 year down the line, and whatever promises they gave, they have been fulfilled. So that's what made me start working towards now owning a home here in Lifestyle. I can say once I landed here at Lifestyle, I was given both options, being a net tenant and also owning a home. I picked the first one first because we wanted to really test the waters. We didn't want to buy a home which we are going to redo some years back. But I also had to consult the bank and see whether they could be able to offer the mortgage, and also what they know. You know, the banks do a lot of background check, what they know about the property. So I involved both sides, and also I can also say from the sales consultants at Lifestyle, they also gave me a lot of input and advice on how to own the home. Outside that, I also used my family to also advise and see whether I'm falling into a wrong decision And that's how then I was able to land to the decision that I own the home here at Lifestyle. Before I started the journey, there were a lot of inputs from friends telling you, no, why don't you do your own house? Why don't you do this? But now that I've tested the waters, for me, I feel it's the way to go. Once I'm done with paying what I'm paying for right now, I will definitely continue investing in real estate, because when you're a working professional, that is one investment that will not really take a lot of your other time. So for me, property is the way to go. Yeah, so I'm watching the space. There is always something for you regardless of your income. Test the waters, go to the banks, let them advise you, go to the sales consultants, let them advise you, and finally you will get something that might suit you somehow. So I would tell people not to shy off. There is always something and there is always a way that works out. But if you hold back and sit back and say that you can't, then you will really not move anywhere.
Here at Lifestyle Heights, children have not been left out. You don't have to take my word for it. See for yourself.
Where I used to live, it was like mansionettes and stuff like that. Like, it was like your own gate, and then like the next door, its own gate. So like, children never used to like come outside, so we had to play in our own backyard. And the only person I would play with is my brother. And of course, it got boring. So the only thing I used to do is like watch TV and stuff like that. And when I moved here, I got like, there's so many kids around, and also it's just like one compound. So yeah, I guess it was easier for me to move here than the other place because of the environment. Online classes, to me, in my opinion, is very boring. But then what like motivates me is that after online classes, I get to come outside and play with my friends, so yeah.
It's a fact. Investing in real estate is not just about looking for a good deal. It's all about keeping a close eye on the market trends to identify the next big thing. Getting your dream home is an investment with truly unlimited advantages. To start your home ownership journey, visit our offices and we'll get you started. That's it for today, and thank you for choosing The Property Show as your premier platform on all things property. This conversation does not stop here. Let's keep talking on our social media handles across our digital platforms. See you next Sunday. As always, there is something for everyone. Kwaheri.